from New York. We were praying for you and speaking well of you and talking about sending Mr. Smith to Washington. Congratulations. I just want to thank you, Holly, as the president, for allowing me the opportunity to be here, and for Christy for having the vision to put this together. And I'm just going to jump right in because I can be very long-winded, and I know that time is an issue, so I'm going to jump in. I'm so glad to be here. I've been looking forward to this for some time. I've had an opportunity to meet some of you before. Pachyderm meetings, I've been to maybe a couple of those over the summers, and so I feel not so much like a stranger, but I do feel like a welcome guest. As Christy already said, I am from New York. I was raised in New York City and Long Island, but I live in Hudson, New York, and if you're not familiar with Hudson, it's not far from the capital, not far from Albany, Catskill Mountains. That might ring a bell for some of you. And so I'm about 2.5 hours from New York City, but so different in so many ways. And it's interesting because I've been here. This is probably my 4th summer here, spending my summer in Missouri. And when I come, people always say, what brings you from New York all the way here? Or people will say, you're trying to come here. We're trying to go to New York City or New York. And I guess the grass is always greener, right, on the other side. But I have enjoyed so much being in the Show Me State, and the Show Me State always shows me a good time, and so I'm very grateful to be here. Christy also mentioned the fact that I'm a teacher. I just finished my 17th year teaching. Teach 7th grade English language arts. When I said I've been teaching for 17 years, you were supposed to look surprised because I'm supposed to not look like I've been teaching. Thank you, you got it. Nobody, there was a time when I said, I've been teaching for this amount of time or that amount of time, and people were like, really? And now it's like, That's how you know you're aging. Well, I'm about to enter my 18th year of teaching in the public school in Hudson, New York. So let's just jump in. I know a bit of an anomaly, and Christy kind of touched on that a little bit. I'm not necessarily your typical Republican. I mean, if you look at those characteristics, I am from New York. I'm a public school teacher, which makes me one of those union members, I'm the only Republican in my family, and again, I'm black. In case you didn't notice. I figured I'd just expose the elephant in the room right away. And it's interesting because whenever I'm at a Republican gathering, I'm always the elephant in the room, and I'm not talking about the fact that that's our symbol. In fact, I was in the bathroom there, and on the there's the baby changing station, and there are 3 elephants on there. So I felt really at home for more reasons than one, but there are some issues that I feel need to be addressed. And so the topic is conservatism in the black community. That's why I came to talk to you today. So just to be clear, though, I want to point out just a little more background information, and that is that I'm not an old school political mind or enthusiast. In fact, I grew up being very, very. I didn't like politics at all. I mean, it wasn't even just that I wasn't interested. I mean, I really didn't like politics. I felt like politicians invaded my space at times. When it was election time and you go to church and the preacher would give the politician, 10 minutes to stand and say their whatever, and then they come back the next time for votes. And so it just rubbed me the wrong way. Just didn't like politics. But it was around 2004 when somehow my conscience sort of awakened to the importance of voting. I mean, I didn't even, and I'm ashamed to say this, I never even voted until 2004, and I was well over 30 years old at the time. I hadn't even voted, wasn't even registered to vote. And I would go to church at times and I would hear people talk about the fact that it's your responsibility, it's your right as an American to vote. That's what you're supposed to do. And that got in my space too, because my mindset was, it's my right not to vote. Which is true, of course. It's not wise, but it's true. And but it was around 2004 when I began to really think. So I hadn't really spent a lot of time thinking about politics, other than that I really didn't care for it. But I do remember this, and so I'm going to jump into the heart of the message. I remember getting the message somehow that Republicans were white people.
Okay.
And that blacks were Democrats.
Okay.
And that even more, anybody else ever got that message? Okay, I got an amen corner over here. But that was, so let's just talk about that. That was, I remember getting that. I mean, even more than the fact that blacks were Democrats, I got the message somehow that we were supposed to be Democrats. That's the way it was just supposed to be. And that Republicans cared about the rich white people. Thus, they're racist. And that Democrats cared about the least. I don't remember ever being told that. I don't know if anyone ever said, I don't know, maybe somebody told me and someone did tell. All I know is that that was truth for me. For as long as I can remember, that's just the way it was. That was just the truth, my perception. And there are people today you couldn't convince in a million years that that's not the truth. But thankfully, there are people who are awakening to what truth is, to what the reality is. And somehow, in spite of the constant barrage of lies that have been opened, and they've escaped what I call the Democrat plantation. So, in around 2004, I asked a friend, he's a friend of mine, we taught together, we coached together, he's our youth pastor in our church, and we were at a home group meeting, he and another gentleman from my church, and I said to them, I just began to be interested, and I said, why is it that blacks are generally Democrats and not Republicans? I didn't even know why. I don't even know if you've ever thought about it. But I asked, why is that? I wanted to know. I didn't even know the difference between the two parties. I just knew I was black, and so if I registered, I'd be a Democrat because that's what I'm supposed to be.
Good.
I didn't know. So after asking me certain questions, I said, well, what would I be based on facts, not just what's supposed to be? What based on principles, based on platform, what would I be? So they asked me a few questions, and after asking me some questions about affirmative action and welfare and the military and abortion and capital punishment and all that, they diagnosed me. And the diagnosis is that I'm a Democrat, but not just any Democrat. I was a conservative Democrat. And again, like I said, I was not registered to vote, but when I did register, after I learned some things, I've never been a Democrat. I've only ever been a registered Republican. But I learned that sometimes even what you think you are, you're not. You understand what I mean? Sometimes, like I had a conversation with my sister a few months ago, and we generally don't talk politics in my family. But we were having a text conversation. And, I couldn't say anything bad about the president, because he's wonderful. And, we better end this conversation now before it gets ugly, kind of thing. And I said to her, I said, okay, we can do that. I said, but I want to one day sit down and have a conversation with you, because what I know about you doesn't line up with the way you're voting. What I know about you doesn't. So sometimes you think you are, like you're a conservative Democrat. That's because I have sort of bought into this perception. I bought into this, well, that's the compassionate way to be, and that's the compassionate way to think. And then when you understand the facts, when you understand the truth, when you see more, you understand a little bit differently, and you realize that I don't even believe that. You ever been there? That's, I guess, what you call an epiphany. So, I am a common sense conservative. I am a registered Republican, but I have to just be upfront and tell you that I'm growing more and more dissatisfied with the party, with the establishment. I believe in the planks of the platform. I just wish we would abide by them. I wish we wouldn't grow squishy. I wish we would take a stand. I wish we would stop apologizing. So I'm more about principle than party. I want to stand on principle. I want to live by my conscience. I want to stand for something. And so I identify more with being a common sense conservative. So, again, I sort of was caught up in that idea of the Democratic Party being so compassionate. And when I think about generational welfare, that sounds compassionate. When I think about not using military force, that sounds compassionate. Increasing the minimum wage, that all sounds so good. Big government sounds compassionate. And because we don't do a good job articulating our message, we miss so much. We miss so many opportunities, and we become known as the party of no, rather than putting forth what we do stand for. You hear what I'm saying? In addition, I shouldn't even say in addition to, above all, above all, being a teacher, above all, being from New York or being whatever, being a Republican, I'm a Christian.
Yes.
And that's got to supersede everything.
Yes.
And so social issues are also very, very important for me. And I find often we're trying to downplay those social issues because we're worried about how we're perceived. But there are some things you don't compromise.
That's right.
And so I'm a Christian, and that's first and foremost. So anyway, I did vote in 2004. Yay, I entered the land of the responsible. I figured out something. I voted in 2004. But it really wasn't until 2008 that my heart was gripped with a real burden for this country. And it was out of nowhere. Anybody who knows me well will tell you the fact that I'm standing here today is crazy. The fact that I would be interested in politics at all is crazy. That just wasn't me at all. But I was gripped. It was a God thing. I was gripped with an awareness of what was at stake in this nation. And I began to pray for this nation. And obviously, voting time, was not going to vote for President Obama or candidate Obama at the time because, well, he doesn't stand for what I stand for, and I wouldn't do that. I wasn't exactly thrilled with the Republican nominee either until he selected Governor Palin. And that was what excited me. That was when I sort of came alive, and I know that God has used her to sort of propel me, to propel me. In fact, I would go so far as to say that I wouldn't even be standing here right now had she not come on the scene. It's amazing what a new phase of my life began. So anyway, it's my understanding that here in Missouri, as in many places in this country, people want the party to be more representative of our entire population. Is that true?
Yes.
And I believe it's necessary. And here's my perspective. I live in a rather diverse community. When you go a couple miles here, you got a high rise. A couple miles here, you got cows. We're in a rather diverse community. I'm like I said, upstate New York. I teach a diversity of students. I go to church with people of diverse backgrounds. But whenever if I go to CPAC, I'm the elephant in the room. If I hear a soundbite from MSNBC or even some members of Congress, they're always pointing out how at this Republican gathering or that Republican gathering or that Tea Party or whatever, that, they start, because as much as they want to say that Republicans are racist, the real race baiters are on the left. And they don't seem to know that it's insulting to start counting that there were 5 black people at a meeting. But they do. And that's what they use as evidence of the fact that we're just all racist. And it doesn't. And the fact that 5 were there, they don't count because they're sellouts, right? They're Aunt Jemimas and Uncle Toms, and you've heard it. They get away with it. Ask Clarence Thomas. He was recently referred to as Uncle Thomas. The media love to do this. They make a huge issue of it. And we don't have an answer, we don't fight back enough, we're not proactive enough, and the left knows that about us. And they exploit it. And we're like that boxer that's against the ropes. And we're getting punched and we're getting beaten and we don't even want to fight back. We're scared to fight back. We're scared to get ahead of it. But I'm telling you something that it can't be. Because if we learn anything from President Bush's presidency and from Senator McCain's candidacy, it's that, look, you have to pick your fights, but my goodness, you've got to fight. You've got to fight. So in August, I'm going to be participating in a panel that's going to talk about this topic in Indiana, and the topic is minority outreach, politics, or pandering. And I don't know anything else about it, except I'll be on the panel, minority outreach, politics, or pandering. And I imagine the idea is to focus on the strategies that the GOP should take in its outreach to blacks, Hispanics, minorities. I can't stand that term minority, but I'll use it today. The topic, is it wise to reach out specifically to us, or is that simply pandering? And so I'm going to ask you to do something really quickly. statement, and I want you to think about it, and then you're going to take a position, and you're just going to take it in your mind. If we have more time, I'd actually have these posted and have you take a stand. But strongly agree, that's one option. Agree somewhat. Strongly disagree. Disagree somewhat. And for the really weak-kneed, neutral. Okay? Those who want to stand where they think it's safe. There's nothing safe about straddling. Here's the statement.
Ouch.
The Republican Party, or conservatives, whatever, the right, should specifically target blacks. And I just want you to take a position in your mind. Strongly agree, agree somewhat, neutral, strongly disagree, disagree somewhat.
What was your statement again?
The Republican Party should specifically target minorities. I'm talking about blacks today, but take a position in your mind. Do you strongly agree? Do you agree somewhat? Where do you stand on that? And once you come to a determination, I just want you to turn to someone. In about 20 seconds, I want you to converse about it. Just share. Do that.
I strongly agree. Or agree somewhat. I don't know about target. You don't want to target. That kind of sounds...
Yeah.
Target's a strong word.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Because it makes me think about all the areas too that they call target areas.
Yeah.
So that's why that portion would turn me on.
Yeah. The target part.
Yeah.
So...
Why don't you just set up agendas goals that would help them in areas that might fix the need or correct
Okay,
the
I'm going to
need
stop
or
you.
concern.
In 5, 4, 3, 2. You know, I didn't even have to get to 1. I wish I could bring you to my classroom, but I wish I could start counting over. I'll just tell them I'm not practicing counting backwards. How many of you said you strongly agree? Okay. Well, about 4 or so. How many of you agree somewhat? How many of you strongly disagree?
No.
Yeah, a lot of neutral people.
We need a qualifier. A strategic answer or philosophical answer.
I want your initial answer.
I think deeper than that.
Well, if I were doing this in my class and we had these position and stations, we called it stand and deliver, and you would actually go stand under a sign and you have to deliver your reason, and I would have the time to hear back from you. But right now, I just want you to have in your heart, in your mind, what you think, and then converse a little bit. Yes?
The thing that struck me in your preface was the word target.
Yes, yes, that's
If the word had
why.
been encouraged, I'd have been real stronger.
Right.
The
Targeted was got
took my
me.
attention.
And trust me, I don't think we need to, I don't think we need to trip up over that word.
Right, but I mean, I
Right.
thought it was a strong word.
Right. Because you can't really, I don't know if you can encourage without setting your sights on them, which is targeting, you know. Okay. So, were you going to say something? Oh.
I just said in the group, you know, we shouldn't, I didn't pick one because I said, I think blacks should be in it, I think they should be well informed, but I don't think it should be their main motivation. Well, I don't want them here because he's black, they should be interested in what you have to offer and what you have to bring to the table.
There you
Right.
go.
Very good.
Right, right there. Right there.
And so that's what I want to talk about. Right, that's what I want to talk about today, because here's how I think the Republican Party has addressed the issue of minority outreach. I've heard it before, I've said it before, and so this is, you know, I'm entering into a new phase of thinking. What I've heard and what I've said is, look, the planks of the platform are good. They're right. They benefit all Americans. There is no separate message for separate Americans. This is the right message, period. And that has been the way we've done business. And that's why Republicans don't address race. I don't think we're overly consumed with race. And I think because the left is overly consumed with race, they assume everyone else is. So everything you say, every criticism you level, it's all because of someone's color. It's all because it's the way they think. And they can't fathom that we can actually think that we have perhaps moved beyond that. We think we did, but I think it got worse in 2008. So, and it is true that the message is for everyone. But you know what? I think about the scripture that says, how can they hear without a preacher? And how can they preach except they be sent? So as a Christian, for example, I believe that the gospel is the answer to what the world needs. Not calling the Republican message the gospel, so hear me out. But as a Christian, I believe the gospel is the answer. But if I never share it, do I really believe that? If I'm not willing to go ye into all the world, do I really believe that it has the power to set captives free? And do I even care?
Ooh.
If I know someone specific has a specific need, wouldn't it make sense to take what I have to the person with the specific need?
Yes.
Even they say, Jesus said, go into, to Judea, to Samaria, to the uttermost parts of the earth, to the Jew, to the Gentile. There were people who have specific needs. Even callings are specific. There are missionaries who say, I felt called to go to this tribe. I felt called to go to this people. And yet, we're all under the same umbrella. We're God's creatures. We're Americans. Yeah. But there are needs that specific individuals and specific groups have. And pretending that there aren't is foolish.
Yes.
So, if I know a specific group has not heard the good news, I want to reach out to that group. So again, I'm not equating the gospel with the Republican platform, but there's a lesson to be learned. Do we believe that we have the right message for this country? Do we believe that blacks and whites and Asians and Hispanics can benefit from this message? Do we care? And this is a strong statement, but I believe this with all my heart. I believe that while conservatism is good for all Americans, it is downright essential for black Americans. It is essential for the black community. What we have to share is essential. It's not just that would be good. I'm saying specifically the black community. We need this message. Although we fall under the same umbrella as Americans, the black community has some unique needs. And the direction we're going is just not sustainable. When you look at where we are. So the question, is it politics or pandering? I say it's proper. And votes are a part of it. We need votes. The Republican Party does need votes. But we also need to understand the value of what we represent. And if we believe that the message is good, then some people, I don't want to just pick you because it's about your vote. It is about your vote because this is politics and we're trying to win an election and we're trying to set policy. And we need votes to do that. So let's not pretend we don't. But it's also about the value of what we have to say. It's about the power of our message. And if we believe it, we need to share it. And in the black community, you better come creative and you better be relentless. As they say, you better stick correct. But they already don't trust you. And it's not going to be easy. People can look at you like you're crazy. They're not going to. We're just kind of suspicious by nature. Yes. But you look. I mean, think about we can't just preach to the choir. Think about Mitt Romney, for example. I wasn't thrilled with him. I respect what he's accomplished. But one thing that gained him some respect is he went to the NAACP National Convention. And this is the stiffest of stiff white guys. Is it true? And he went. President Obama didn't even go address them. He went. And sure, I'm sure people were suspicious, but he gained some respect that he was willing to go, knowing what they thought of him. He didn't let it had to be uncomfortable. He knew he was going in unfriendly territory for the most part, but he went. He didn't let that stop him. And we can't do that either. It's going to be uncomfortable to reach out. Especially when you feel that you're not trusted, especially when you're already labeled. Is it worth it? Is there a cause, right? Is there not a cause? So, we might as well understand there are categories. Every vote goes in a category, every voter goes in. Principles matter, votes matter. Hey, Rahm Emanuel said, never let a crisis go to waste. There's a crisis within the black community. And that's why I say there is an open door now more than ever. That if we reach forth, we've got opportunities. It seems so helpless and hopeless at times. Some people say there's no way, they'll never. Don't ever believe that. Because once you do, there isn't, whether you believe or whether you don't believe, you're right. According to your faith, so be it. So with 95% of blacks voting Republican, why do I say there's an open door? Well, first of all, look at the Democrat Party. It's not designed to empower people. It's not designed to lift people up. It creates this image of compassion, but it creates a victim mentality. It doesn't want to tell you that you're not a victim but a victor. Because some of the movers and shakers, I don't even think they want the people out of the situation they're in. Because then they would be out of the situation that they're in, and they'd be out of their position, right? And some of the race baiters, they love that. And so I think that our message is about empowerment, and that you can, and that we will give you that hand up. If I'm lying in the mud, I'm stuck in the mud, and you reach down your hand, and I reach mine up to grab your hand, I don't want to grab your hand and just hold it. Ooh, not your hand. Feel the hand, soft. The purpose for me reaching up for your hand is so that I can take your hand, so that I can get up and I can walk on my own. Am I right?
Yes.
And I think so many people, the left, they want to just hold your hand. And they tell you that holding your hand is what's good for you. That's not what, I mean, I don't want to hold your hand. I want to walk on my own. But because it's okay to grab a hand for a hand up.
Yes.
But then I got to walk out into what I can do and what I can accomplish. And so, because Republicans haven't found a way to articulate that, we allowed the Democrats to capitalize off their victimhood, race-baiting, government plantation strategy. And it's working. And that's why they continue to do it. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it ain't broke. Excuse my bad English. I almost said black English. The black community in particular, stop holding the government's hand while we're in the mud. We need to get out of the mud. We need a message that works, because we should be further along than we are right now. Look, I work in the schools. I see where we are. I know what's going on. I know what these kids are up against. We should be further along than we are. And I'm tired of hearing them say, Miss So-and-so down the hall, my science teacher didn't let me go because I'm black. You know what? Or you failed me because no. Because you have failed to see your potential. Because other people have told you you're a victim, and you say, okay, because now I have an out. You don't have an out. You live in the greatest country on the face of the earth, and you have opportunities at your fingertips. Stop making excuses. So, I have to believe that every person, I just have to believe that every person, when faced with an alternative to perpetual dependence, would choose individual liberty and personal responsibility. And this is about liberty. This is about freedom. When we start talking about reaching into the black community, this is what my ancestors struggled, fought, and died for. We talk about Patrick Henry saying, give me liberty, or what?
Give me death.
Or give me death. But black folks said that during slavery. That's what the Underground Railroad was all about.
Yeah.
Said it during civil rights. That's what the freedom rides were all about. And we need to say it now. Because that's what constitutional common sense conservatism is all about. It's about liberty. It's about freedom. It's about personal responsibility. It's about success. It's about the greatest opportunity for success for all people. And the Republican Party really should appeal to blacks. It is the party of Lincoln. It is the anti-slavery party. It is the Civil Rights Party. It is the party of Dr. King and Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. It is the party of liberty. And look, and so many people don't even know that. And look how many women, blacks, Hispanics are being elected in the Republican Party. Nikki Haley and Susanna Martinez and Tim Scott and Ted Cruz. Look at that. Even having, I don't know if you heard, there's a senator in Louisiana, state senator, Albert Guillory. Look him up on the internet if you haven't. He's got this video. It's powerful. He just left the Democrat Party because it didn't align with his values, fiscally or socially. It's a powerful short video. Albert Guillory. Look how many of them are coming out of the Democrat Party. Arthur Davis, former congressman. So with all that, how is it that we've allowed the narrative to be that we are anti-minority, anti-women, anti-progress? How is it that we just continue to get beat up with that, and we don't want to fight back? And we haven't found a way to share that message. Because we just were all people. Well, you better start focusing on people who don't know about your all.
Yes.
They want to know what you're going to do for me. And we look at that as a negative thing. I want to know what you're going to do for me. But you know what? Maybe you should answer the question. Because what I want to do for you is tell you what you can do for you.
Yes.
Amen?
Amen.
The Democrat Party is the party that still seeks to control minorities and women. They love blacks as long as you stay on their plantation. As long as you don't think for yourself. It's true. As soon as you do, you are the Uncle Tom. And I've been there. I've been called that. I've dealt with it. There's a video out there. You should see it. Go to my website. You'll see it. Went on this local television station in New York City. My goodness.
Or you're too radical.
I'm too radical. You're being used. You know, that whole thing. They love you as long as you do what they say. That's why I call it a plantation. Because otherwise, you know, I'm a house Negro. I'm the house slave. And they get away with it. They love blacks. Do what they say. They love women as long as you promote their abortion agenda. I mean, you think about that. I mean, I think I mentioned Governor Palin. You think about her. Here's a woman the Democrats should love. This is a woman with PTA, self-made, God-made and self-made by the grace of God. She didn't grow up with a silver spoon in her mouth. She worked hard. PTA, city council, mayor, governor, oil and gas regulator, Tea Party leader, mother, small business owner, 5 children, husband. They should love her by all accounts. She's everything women are supposed to, you know, we want women to be. But on the left and the right, they've tried to diminish her. And the left does it, first of all, because of her faith in God. Second of all, because she stands for life. And that makes you an enemy. So, I declare that there's an open door if only conservatives will walk through it. And I just want to share a few statistics quickly because I know I'm probably well out of time.
You're okay.
I'm okay. I don't hear that often. But I'm declaring there is an open door. So let's look at the situation we find ourselves in so we can walk through that door. Think about unemployment. 7.6, still, June numbers. White unemployment for June was 6.6%. Hispanic unemployment, 9.1. The black unemployment rate for June, 13.7. It was 13.2 in April, 13.5 in May, 13.7 in June. If you can tell, it's gone up. Black youth unemployment rate for June was 43.6. Up from 42.6 in May, up from 40.5 the month before, up from 33.8 the month before that. So we're going 33.8, 40.5, 42.6, 43.6. And even President Obama, he came under fire within the black community because when he did his jobs tour, he didn't even go into the black community. There's an open. Conservatives understand. I mean, well, I got to stop and do this just for Governor Palin's behalf. Just on her behalf. I was that Hopi changey stuff working. I had to throw that in. I love that. I'm hoping for a change. But conservatives understand that higher taxes and these regulations on businesses don't help anybody. Obamacare doesn't improve employment opportunities. In fact, people are going to be, look, part-time or you got to go. We can't afford it. It's not sustainable. Increasing the minimum wage used to sound, that sounds great, but it really doesn't help because jobs will be cut. What we've got to tell people is the minimum wage is supposed to be your minimum wage. It's supposed to be the lowest you ever make. You're not staying here. This is just the stopping ground till you get to the next level. We don't want you to camp out here. It should be the lowest you ever make. You're moving on to bigger and better things. And so when we increase that, then we're cutting jobs because who's going to eat that cost? The business owner? No, you're going to lose jobs. We have to use common sense, but it sounds compassionate. And because we won't articulate the truth and how it really breaks down, we just seem like those mean, evil people. Don't want to help anybody because we only care about people who make as much money as Mitt Romney. Even amnesty disguised as immigration is an issue in our economy. They're hired at low wages. They're competing for jobs. Listen, conservatives need to understand that blacks want jobs also. They want to feed their families also. They want the finer things in life also. And liberal policies make all those things more difficult. Liberal policies don't work. They're bad for America, but they're destructive for the black community, even more so, because our situation is so dire. Think about education. Here's another thing. So you have an open door with it thinking about jobs. You got an open door with education. Conservatives have fought for school choice. Democrats constantly fight against, because they're in bed with the teachers' unions. They fight against school choice. Now why? President Obama came into office and imposed the DC voucher program that by all accounts was working. The parents were satisfied. The achievement was there. But no. If we're going to get out, if we want people to do better, if we want the country to progress, education is so important. The public school, like I said, I work there. It works for some. It doesn't work for others. And I know why it doesn't work. I'm there. You're not saying that there are hardworking teachers who pour themselves into the students. I understand it. You know, I want to smack people who say, you got all this, and I go to work to come home to work. But I'm saying if you've got something that works, and education is important, why would you fight? Why would you fight that choice? Playing politics with people's children. And that's one message that the conservatives should be sharing. Education. Social issues. The black family, look, black people tend to be a people of faith. It's in our DNA. We can amen like nobody.
Amen.
Right? And that's some reason why some in the black community came out. I heard a preacher come out of the Democrat Party. He said, you know what, I had to leave. He said, because I found myself standing behind the pulpit on Sunday preaching one thing. And then Tuesday I went to the voting booth and I voted complete opposite of what I preached. And so faith is important. Democrat Party booed God at their convention. Recently in Texas, they were yelling, "Hail Satan." Now, not everybody obviously subscribes to that thinking, but I don't want to be associated with that. Period. So who's going to? When you start talking about the faith, and you start talking, the Democrats wanting to remove God from the public sphere. Who's going to sit down with these pastors? Who's going to do the hard thing out of Republicans and sit down with pastors and say, "Can we talk?" With your neighbors, with these deacons, with the people that shout on your toes on Sunday and then vote for nonsense on Tuesday. 70%, let's talk about family. 70% of children, black children, are born out of wedlock. 70. You're not supposed to talk about that because now you're pushing your values on us. We don't. Those Republicans always want to force their values. Don't tell me what to do. Just pay for more birth control for me. You can't tell me how to live. You can just subsidize my living. No matter what your faith, no matter what your faith tells you, you're supposed to pay for my birth control because that's what you're supposed to do. But you can't ask me to have personal responsibility because now you've stepped over the line. Look, you can do what you want, but don't ask me to pay for it. Right? 70% born out of wedlock. We can't just deal with the symptom anymore. The left just wants to put a Band-Aid on it. And I've shared this before. I heard one of my former pastors said this before. He said, look, if somebody is being attacked, if you look at and see someone being attacked by a dog, and you run out, oh goodness, they're being attacked by a dog, and you run out, dog is eating them up. And you go out with your bandage and you just start bandaging them up. Bandaging them up, wiping the blood off. Well, that makes no sense until you get the dog off. Right? The dog off. But see, they don't want to deal with the dog. They just want you to put a bandage on it, put a condom on it, put it, whatever. That's what they want. They don't want to deal with the heart. The heart of the matter is the matter of the heart. You've got to get to the root. And this is a message that we try to shy away from because we're worried about those being those social conservatives. And it's a war on women. So, I've gotten fed up even with the issue of the abortion. Don't talk about abortion. Why not? What matter? If you don't have life, what do you got? There's a reason why it's life, liberty, and then the pursuit of happiness. Let it go. It's a war on women. Look, get a backbone. Black people are 13% of the population, and we have 36% of abortions. Black women are 5 times more likely than white women to have an abortion. There's, on average, about 2,000 black babies aborted every day in the United States. And since Roe v. Wade in '73, black women have had about 16 million abortions. It is wiping out the black community. Wiping out. But that was the plan. If you know anything about Margaret Sanger, that was her plan to begin with. That's why Planned Parenthood sets up shop mostly in black, poor neighborhoods. And she said it from the beginning. She was for the eradication of the black race. They will destroy themselves. And we are the most ardent supporters. Blows my mind. Call them on it. Some don't even know. Wiping out our children and babies while we save whales.
Amen.
Several years ago, here's a quote from a woman named Irma Clardy Craven. She's deceased. She was a social worker and civil rights leader. And the quote says, several years ago, when 17,000 aborted babies were found in a dumpster outside a pathology laboratory in Los Angeles, California, some 12 to 15,000 were observed to be black. More blacks have died from abortion than AIDS, heart disease, cancer, violent crime, and accidents combined. And again, that was always the agenda. So how do people on the left get away with calling us racist? Margaret Sanger was a racist. The people, Republicans have always fought for equality. We're the anti-slavery party. And why have we not spoken out like we should? The Democrat Party continues to want to keep blacks on their plantation. Supposedly they stand up for civil rights, yet they remain silent when black conservatives are attacked. Say nothing. I refuse to be anybody's slave. I'm going to think for myself. Okay, so I'm getting the hand signal here. So I'm just going to say this, and I'm just going to end this by saying this. And we've got whatever platform you have, use it. You've got resources, so use them. You've got inroads, so travel them. You hear what I'm saying? There's something you can do. So whether you like the term target or you want to say encourage or whatever, we need to be proactive because not just for votes. And so if that bothers your conscience, understand that it's not about votes, it's about values. I'm assuming you're here because you believe the message. I'm assuming you're conservative because you believe it's the best answer. I'm assuming you believe that America is the greatest country on the face of the earth. And you believe that we've got some principles that are going to continue, that are going to keep us in the spirit of excellence, spirit of American exceptionalism. It's necessary, and there's an open door. I just gave you a few. Start talking about education. Start talking about what the other side is trying to take away, the educational opportunity. Start talking about the social issues that do matter. Black people are usually social conservatives anyway. Now, we don't all think alike. You're not going to win everybody. People do think, and I'm sure there are some who really believe in the message. But I'm telling you, there's more. There's more that be with us than be with them. I believe that. 95%? Don't tell me 95% don't believe this message. Don't believe it. So I gotta go. I can talk more, but you guys are wonderful. Thank you.